Welcome back to the Kean and Fair Show. We've long been gone. It's been a month and a half.
Yeah.
Super Bowl has happened. Free agency has happened. The Combine has happened. And so we figure, hey, let's do a draft. There's 31 teams that didn't win the Super Bowl. The Eagles are the only ones happy right now. So let's see what we're going to do and see what we have for you. We're going to do it on PFF. Keenan and I will go every other pick. We're just going to do the first round today. If we want to do a more comprehensive one, maybe the first couple rounds, maybe we'll do that in the future date. But today, we're going to do just the first round. All right, Keenan. If it's heads, you get odds. If it's tails, you get evens. Here we go. Flip. Heads.
Heads. Okay.
So, Keenan gets the first pick. He's on the clock. The Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, so I haven't really looked into that much film of these players, but I've looked at a lot of mocks. I've looked at some resources of what other people think. So I've gathered some opinions of what I think some teams will do. For the Titans, I think you agree with this. It looks like they don't have another quarterback
Just going to start typing his name up.
that could be on the roster right now. I'm just going to go with Cam Ward just to be a starting quarterback. This isn't a great quarterback draft class, but I still think that Titans will want to draft him in the first
He
round.
had his pro day today. And he did some throwing, and they did that stereotypical naked boot roll out to his left, throw across his body, and of course he threw a dime. Like, the arm talent is there.
Yeah,
So
it's
but
yeah. It seems like Cam Ward has become like more of the consensus QB1. He has probably has better upside, but Sanders might be more NFL ready with his accuracy. But I still think the Titans will want to take Cam Ward at number 1 overall.
all right, Cleveland Browns. Cleveland, you were a disaster. You did the right thing in giving Myles Garrett all the money. You did the wrong thing in giving Deshaun Watson all the money. Your quarterback situation is not figured out. But I don't think you take a quarterback here. I just don't. I think this draft is heavy with defense. It's heavy with offensive linemen, both areas you need. And the only real area you need on defense, in my mind, is to pair Myles Garrett with a pass rusher. And boy, is there a doozy in this draft. And I just think, when you have lots of holes and there isn't a great quarterback class, you're going to go with best player available. Usually I am a need over best player available drafting person, but when you're this high on the draft board and you have a chance to draft an amazing talent as Abdul Carter that you can pair with Myles Garrett, I think you do it. So I think the Browns are going to take Mr. Abdul Carter. He's right there at number 2.
Yeah, I think that's a great fit and great player. For the Giants, I think they're in a situation where the best player available on the board, Travis Hunter, would be a great fit for them. And I know a lot of fans want that, but I still think that they are going to want to invest in the quarterback. I still think that's the direction they will go in. I could see them going with either of the Colorado players, but I think Shedeur Sanders just plays a more valuable position, so I will go with him here. And we'll see where Travis Hunter will
Shedeur. You're going to take Shedeur at number 3, huh? All right.
Did you click it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you clicked your mouse down.
Yeah, there we go. All right, Patriots. The Patriots are jumping for joy. If you could show what's going on right now in their, in their GM room on draft day, the coaches are there, all the assistant GMs. The Giants took Shedeur Sanders. They don't need a quarterback. Obviously, they have Drake May. But Travis Hunter has fallen into their lap. He's just this beautiful present waiting to be opened. He's just going to mean, oh, what do they need? We need receiver help so bad. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think
yes.
I think in this situation he would probably play wide receiver with Carlton Davis. I believe they signed, and Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, Jalen Pope from last year. They
He didn't have a great rookie season.
He did not, but their offense and their coaching staff. Let's just not talk about how poorly it was run. I know there's a lot of talk about offensive linemen, and of course, they need O-line help, and I think they will address that with many picks in this draft. But I think right here they're going to take the best player available,
$60 million,
and they're going to take Mr. Travis Hunter. Jaguars are disappointed. They were hoping Hunter falls to them at 5. Not happening.
Yeah, I think that would be a great scenario for the Jaguars. I believe they signed Jordan Lewis, but they still could use help at cornerback. I think there are a lot of options here. They could go with McMillan and get another receiver. They could get another offensive lineman with someone like Will Campbell or Armand Membo. But I think Mason Graham is probably the best player available other than Ashton Jeanty, but I don't really think they need a running back. So I think that is a good pick for them. I think that is a big need for the team, and it's been mocked a lot, but I still think it's a good pick. So I don't see a big reason to avoid it.
Alrighty. The Raiders are gonna Raider. If you know what that means, what do the Raiders love picking? Love picking receivers. Big bad receiver. Devontae Adams is gone. They don't really have a great receiver. Their O-line is decent. They got a quarterback. They just haven't extended him. By the way, where is that extension for Geno Smith? Make that big trade. Send a third rounder over. Haven't heard anything about the extension for Geno. Where's that at? But anyway, he's going to need someone to throw the ball. You have Brock Bowers, obviously great. Running back could be an option here, but I think running back's pretty deep this year, so they could go running back later rounds.
Mm-hmm. They did sign Raheem Mostert, but
but he's 32 years old, so it's not necessarily a long-term thing, right? But I think McMillan's staring them in the face. They're just going to fall in love with this guy, especially after his pro day. Give me McMillan for the Raiders. For the Raiders.
The Jets is very interesting. They have a lot of players. Just gonna double check. I think so they didn't. I don't believe they retained Morgan Moses. So I think right tackle is definitely in play. They have Olu Fashanu to play left tackle for the future. They could go with Tyler Warren to get another weapon. They could go with someone else to play another spot on the offensive line. They could go with a corner. But I do think tackle is a good thing just to get a guy to protect Justin Fields and your eventual franchise quarterback. So I'm going to go with Armand Membu. I think he may not have shown as much of just great offensive line play, but he is quite athletic, and although he is on the shorter side, he has long enough arms, and he has been getting much better, and I think he is. I think he could definitely be the top tackle off of the board. So I will have the Jets drafting him.
Okay. We got to number 7 before an offensive lineman came out. I think that's kind of interesting. All right, Panthers. Panthers had an interesting year last year, but towards the end of the year, Bryce Young really started to show that under Canales that he was starting to develop, and their offense was looking better. And I just feel like they really want to continue that. They invested a lot in Bryce Young. They really invested a lot of money in their offensive line in their free agency last year. And, there's a lot of talk about the biggest issue for them, which is their defense. Their best defensive player was out all year last year. Derek Brown. He'll be back. They re-signed. They
J.C.
extended.
Horn.
They extended J.C. Horn. So they have some young talent on defense. They do need to add to it. But I had this idea about this pick the other day, and I was discussing it with Keen, and I just can't take my mind off of it. I just think it's a really good fit for a team that likes to run the football and they like physicality. But just having that tight end that can just split the field, run the seam, and just be a really big target, especially for an undersized quarterback, is just a great thing to have. So I think the Panthers at number 8 should go with Tyler Warren.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting pick. It seems like just any defensive player is obvious, but they could go with some more defensive players in the later rounds. They signed a lot of guys in free agency.
Right.
And I think that's more of a long term thing that they need to fix. But trying to finish the offense now, it could be a good way of getting around to finishing the rebuild.
Yeah.
The Saints here, they, I think, just the thing that's been going for them the most has been edge rusher. Ashton Jeanty, I've seen as a possibility.
Really?
They did re-sign Alvin Kamara, but he's getting older, and Jeanty would be a good fit.
You know, crazy stat from Alvin Kamara: never rushed for 1,000 yards in a season. Crazy.
Yeah.
You think Alvin Kamara?
I'm gonna look at the edge rushers and the linebackers.
Defense is aging. You know, they rework deals with Cam Jordan and Tyrann Mathieu to come back for another year, but
there are definitely some good players on this board and some players that would fit. They've got a new defensive scheme coming in.
Yep. New head coaching.
I'm going to go with just the highest upside guy in Shamar Stewart. He is just an incredible athlete, and he has shown flashes of being a great, productive, at times edge rusher. That I think he could be in the NFL. I think, like after a year or two of development, he could use his athleticism and his skills that he has developed to be one of the best edge rushers in the league, and I think the Saints are going to need one of those.
Ooh. You know, I didn't think about how we flipped. I got Bears and the Cowboys.
That's interesting.
Ugh.
Which one takes Jeanty?
The Bears, the city of Chicago, does love a great running back. Walter Payton, Gale Sayers, Matt Forte. I just think, you know, it's interesting. If you think about Ben Johnson and what he just had, right? So, Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Lions for the last few years. They've had Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, two-headed monster running back because they like to run the football. So what do? First thing, they hire Ben Johnson. What's the first thing they do? They start going after offensive linemen. They get a new center, 2 new guards, and instantly rebuild their offensive line. Clearly, there was an issue with Caleb and stuff like that, but 2 best things a quarterback can have. Well, 3 best things. 1, a really good offensive coordinator. Got that, Ben Johnson. 2, offensive line to protect. And 3, an amazing run game. Take the pressure off. And I know that they've invested a little bit of money in the position with signing Swift last year, but he's not on a big deal. I think it was like 3 years, $24 million or something like that. It wasn't like,
I don't recall.
Yeah, it wasn't like a ton of money invested, but getting Ashton Jeanty to run behind that offensive line, it seems like exactly what Johnson would want. And he's a good receiver, but he's just dynamic between the tackles. So I think the Bears are going to take Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, I've been liking that pick. I think they could still invest in the offensive line, but they've got. I think they still have 2 second-round picks that are pretty high. So I think they could still get some depth down the board. But both are great options. With the Cowboys. Wait, no, that's your pick. With the 49ers.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to pick the Seahawks rivals. Go for it. Go for it.
I really think they should go with Jackson Dart. There are a lot of players they could take. I think they could go with Will Johnson, but I think they have a pretty good corner room. They could take an edge rusher to pair with Nick Bosa. I think that's something that they've needed for a while. But another thing that they've needed for a while is a better offensive line. And Will Campbell is just sitting there at 11. I think he's too good to pass up for the 49ers. And I think, they lose Aaron Banks. I think he could be a great player at tackle or guard. He does have shorter arms, but he has been great for LSU. So I think that will be a great pickup.
Mm-hmm. Cowboys, man.
Yeah.
They lost to Marcus Lawrence. They lose, Hall of Famer in
Zach Martin to
retirement.
They have Dante. They brought back Dante Fowler. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they could go either way here, offensive line or defensive line. I think those are two areas of need. Everybody's already picked Genty to fall to them, and that's where they would go. They're going to go running back. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones never goes the way that everybody thinks he's going to go in the draft. It's just not what happens. Now, he's not the best GM. He does some weird stuff, but he's not a bad drafter, honestly. They've developed talent. The Cowboys have developed talent. The problem is they don't. Their culture is the problem. It's not talent development. They always, CeeDee Lamb's great. Micah Parsons is great. So it's not like they have issues acquiring talent. So I think he'll do something, but he's gonna take. He likes stars. He likes.
That's why it's in their logo.
Right. He likes. But I can see them doing a lot of different things here. But I'm gonna go a little oddball here, and I'm gonna give them another weapon, but just not a weapon that they were thinking about. But I'm gonna give them Luther Burden. Oh, they need some receiver help. They need a second receiver. They need, CD can line up everywhere. He's been outside. He lines up in the slot. They move him all around the place.
Same for Luther Burden.
Exactly. So the adaptability of Luther Burden to match with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb on one side, Luther Burden can play on either side of the ball. He can play outside. He can play inside. I think it's just a good combination to match with CeeDee Lamb, and it's just another star. So Cowboys take Luther Burden.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where Luther Burden's going to go because he's
one of those guys that could go between 10 and 30. Honestly,
Yeah, and they're I don't know the exact wide receiver order because there are a few guys with differing skill sets, but they're all good. The Dolphins, I think is a pretty. I think it's quite a tough pick for me.
They signed Artie Burns, by the way.
Well, I guess they aren't drafting a corner now.
They like ex-Seahawks defenders, those Dolphins.
Yeah. I think they could go with a cornerback. Their offensive line could need some help even after they signed James Daniels and drafted Patrick Paul. So I think those are probably the best two options. I think Jahdae Barron, Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron is more of a nickel. Will Johnson has some concerns. So I'm gonna go with Kelvin Banks. This
Yeah.
might be a little. This might be a little higher than he might go in the draft, but he's got versatility and he's been a great player for Texas. He's
Right.
uh, he can play tackle. He can play guard. He can start left guard, the right tackle. They could have him potentially eventually play left tackle, and that depending on what they want to do with Patrick Paul. But I think this gives them a plan for the future. So that
Hmm.
is the pick.
All right, Colts are up. Now the Colts lost Ron Kelly. Or how do you
Will
pronounce it?
Fries.
Will Fries. Just Fries, like it's phonetic. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Will Fries. So they need to rebuild their offensive line a little bit. But if you watched their games last year, the problem was a combination of things. Obviously, quarterback play was an issue, consistency at that position, um, and they're going to work on that. Anthony Richardson is still there, but I really think they want to improve defensively. Um,
Mm.
and
I've already brought in Traverse Ward and Cameron Bynum, and
yeah,
I think those are good steps.
yeah. But I'm going to give them an all-world player, and I think it's going to be good in this league, and that's going to be Jahad Campbell. Um,
Interesting.
uh, he's very smart. Playing defense at Alabama and playing linebacker, you have to know all aspects of the defense. And he's an explosive player. He just kind of jumps off the page when you watch him and watch his play. So
He has some pass rushing experience too.
yeah, and you can move him all over the field. So I really think this is a good fit for a Colts defense that kind of needs an edge. So I'm going to give them Jahad Campbell.
Well, I mean, like, okay.
I mean, needs an edge, not an edge player. Needs an edge as in
he could play the edge if they want.
You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the metaphoric edge you need to play defense. Don't misconstrue my use of the word edge.
The most common things I've seen for the Falcons are Jahad Campbell and just any edge rusher.
Ooh, I just ruined the Falcons pick for you? Ooh.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to go with Jahad Campbell.
Oh, sure you went.
No, I could go with another versatile edge linebacker with Jalen Walker. Some people don't really like him as a prospect, but he's got a lot of upside as a player. And he could play some linebacker for them. He does need to develop some of his traits, but he could certainly end up being a great player in the league. Mike Green would be a good pass rusher. Ezraku has some good moves. Pierce is quick and athletic and explosive, and Williams is another great athlete. But Walker also has there's been talk of him having great leadership qualities, and I'm gonna go with him here.
Oh wow!
I think I think although some people may not like the pick as much, I think his versatility and his potential. I think when teams draft on upside, he's one of the top players that has great upside.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this being any other edge guy or potentially even a different position, but this is just one of the positions. I really don't know what order the edges will go in, other than Duke Carter at 1.
All right, Cardinals. Cardinals to me are a mess. I feel like there's a lot going on in their division. The 49ers lost a lot of talent in free agency, but they're trying. They still have a good core, and they're going to figure things out. The Rams are making moves, trying to get better. The Seahawks, have made some moves. But what are the Cardinals doing?
Like Josh Sweat?
Josh Sweat has to get paid, but the problem with the Cardinals, and I'm just going to say this is my chance to talk about a team that I don't talk a lot about. I don't think Jonathan Gannon was necessarily a bad hire. I just think that Kyler Murray contract is handcuffing them. Kyler Murray is Kyler Murray. He's not a top 10 talent. He can look great at certain times, but they're just kind of handcuffed because of that contract. I don't think he has any trade value within the league. I don't think anybody wants him. I don't think he carries a great demeanor. I don't think he's a good leader. I don't think you could pay someone that much money and expect great things out of it. And they just kind of been horrible. So, um,
They did sign Jacoby Brissett.
yeah, I'm sure Kyler at some point will fall down and hurt his calf, and Jacoby Brissett will get starts because that's just happened with Brissett's career.
Well, it's 2-year deal, so
Yeah,
that's 34
yeah.
opportunities.
Basically, the Cardinals are just waiting for that contract to go away, and then Kyler Murray to go away, and then we'll be talking about them at the top of the draft, getting a quarterback sometime in the next couple of years.
We talked about it with Caleb Williams, but they decided to stick with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. But that doesn't really affect this year's draft because he's still under contract for a couple more years. So, what do they need? Well, Jonathan Gannon, defensive coach. His defense wasn't good. His secondary was bad last year. And besides Buda Baker, everybody in that secondary was giving up plays all over the field. So I think they need to really go corner here, and I think they need a physical type of corner, and so I think that's why they'll go with Will Johnson.
Interesting.
Yep.
Could certainly be a great player if he gets past some of those issues.
Yep.
And I have the Cincinnati Bengals. This is another team where there's quite a few options. They could, I think, wide receiver has been talked a lot about, but I think the more common pick for them is on the defensive line, and I think if you look at like who do you think, if you look at like the best player on the defensive line or edge, like Kenneth Grant is really athletic. You've got Mike Green, who's thought to go in this range, but I've heard there are some potential concerns with him. And then Matthew Golden and Emeka Egbuka are pretty good receivers. But I think... and Walter Nolan too. But I think I'm just going to go with Mike Green and get them another edge rusher. I don't think there's...
We still don't know what they're going to do with him. They haven't extended him. There's people that want him. You're not sure what's going to happen. So, yeah, they got to address that situation.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I mean, they don't really have a wide receiver 3, I don't think, but with edge, I don't think there's...
T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are not allowed to leave the field, even in goal line packages. You paid them too much money. They are on the field every play. They maybe even play defense for how much you paid them.
I don't think there's a way that the Mike Green pick is bad. I think even if you extend Trey Hendrickson, they still don't have that much depth on the edge. Miles Murphy hasn't done that much. So, that'll be the pick. And you've got your Seahawks.
I got the Seahawks, which I hate because I have no idea what John Schneider's going to do. I thought for sure he was going to draft Jalen Carter, and then we got Devin Witherspoon. Of course, I love Devin Witherspoon. I love him.
Predictable.
He trades down, he trades back, he does what? He trades Gino. He's just a wild card. You don't know what he's going to do. And he hasn't been great at evaluating O-line talent in the interior.
Well,
I think that
everyone thought Christian Haynes was good. It wasn't just him.
I thought, well, it's not that Christian Haynes is bad. And it could have been, clearly we made a bad OC hire. And maybe Christian Haynes was never put in a position to be successful. Time will tell. I think we've got a really run-first guy in Kubiak. His dad was a great offensive coach. We'll see. But I do think they need to address the O-line. I think they will probably try to trade back. He doesn't like taking guards this high. More O-linemen in general this high. He did take Lucas. Not Lucas, but Charles Cross. Yeah. And he's been a great pro, actually. Minus, not this last year, but 2 years ago when he was battling injuries. Abraham Lucas is coming back. I think they're good at tackle. I think they're really good at tackle. I think they're decent at tight end, so they can block. But they do need centers and guards. They just need to keep throwing money or attempts at it to try to fix it. And they're going to run the football this year. They are going to. Now, if McMillan or Burden had been here with, I know you're running Cup and and JSN out there, but McMillan's sitting at 18. Somehow he doesn't get drafted. You need that big outside receiver. It's just something. MVS is not going to be the answer long term. It'd be nice to get a receiver on a 5-year deal while you're paying Cup and you have to pay JSN in a couple years. But maybe they address that down the road. I think that they're going to go with an offensive lineman, and I think they're going to go with Gray Zabel. He's listed as a tackle, but he's projected to be really good at guard. So I think, he's a smart player, and he's also played in an offense that is really good at fronting the football. North Dakota State is a running team, so he's a good run blocker, good to put him inside, and it addresses major need for the Seahawks. So I'm taking Gray Zabel.
Yeah, I think that's definitely. I think that's probably the best offensive line available for what they would want. I don't think Josh Simmons is really a guard. So the Buccaneers. They could go with Jahdae Barron. He's a great player. I don't know if they want to take him here. I think it would be a great pick, and he would be a great player in the nickel. But I'm going to take another edge rusher.
You and your edge rushers.
Edge rushers are just...
It's a very edge rush heavy draft.
Yeah. I think Pierce and Iziraku are great, but I'm going to go with Michael Williams. I think he has just amazing athletic upside, and he has decent pass rushing skills. And although he was playing through injury, I think he can still be a great player and eventually be a great edge rusher to go with Yaya Diaby with the Buccaneers on that defensive line. So I think that will be a big help to their passing defense.
Okay. All right, Broncos made the playoffs. Sean Payton, Bo Nix. Against a weaker schedule, it's going to be more difficult this next year. I think the Chargers are going to continue to get better. I think the Raiders are going to be better. And obviously, you have the Chiefs that have owned the division. So what does Bo Nix need? Is that something you really think offense? Obviously, running back, receiver, but Cortland Sutton, they drafted Troy Franklin last year. They also had that other rookie receiver. I can't think of his name.
What do you mean other rookie receiver? Devon Bailey?
Baylor, yes.
A 7th round pick?
Yeah, but he played well.
He did.
So I don't think receiver is really that big of a need to me. I know the PFF has it listed as one of their needs. Not really. Javonte Williams is gone, so running back is a need, but I think they'll address that later. I don't think they'll spend the 20s now. If Gentry falls to them here, I think there's that other running back.
Omarion Hampton?
Yeah, Omarion Hampton. They could go with Hampton here. But I just don't think they will. I think that Sean Payton knows the way in this division, it's going to be a tough division that is to solidify the offense and defensive line. And for them, I really like them taking Kenneth Grant and just building up that defensive line and just stopping the run and putting pressure on quarterbacks. And I think he's just a really good fit for them. So, Kenneth Grant going to the Broncos.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that pick before, but it definitely. Kenneth Grant has great upside. And you can't have enough trench pass rush.
No, you can't have enough guys in the trenches.
The Steelers.
Yeah. By the time the draft happened, is Aaron Rodgers signed? Is Russell Wilson signed? Or no?
I have a lot of trouble mocking for them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what to do. Because, at cornerback, do they want to go with Jahdae Barron? I think Beanie Bishop is good, and on the outside, they have Darius Slay now and Joey Porter, who was okay last year. They could go with a safety, which replaces Deshaun Elliott. They could go with Jackson Dart here. and I wouldn't be shocked. Um, but I think today I I will go with I'm going to go with Nick Emanwari.
Wow.
I think they could use a long-term safety, and I don't think he has to play that much yet, and he can refine his skills, and with his athleticism, become an even better player. Uh, I don't I don't really know what to do with the Steelers because it's not a great quarterback class, and that's their biggest need.
Uh-huh.
And they've really got a bunch of pretty good players everywhere else. But I think this is a decent pick.
Alrighty, Chargers. They have wide receiver listed here, but they brought back Mike Williams. I do think tight end is a need, but I just don't think, if Tyler Warren's gone, they're going to draft a tight end in the first round. But
Yep. You don't like Colston Loveland?
not at this spot.
Okay.
But they brought Khalil.
Khalil?
Khalil.
I think
Khalil?
I heard it was Khalil. I heard that
Anyway.
was Khalil.
They brought him back, but they let go of Mr. Bosa, who's now playing in Buffalo. So they need more pass rushers and they need more edge guys. So I think, what Kean's been doing, we need to go to the edge. I'm going to give them Donovan.
It looks weird, but I think it's pronounced Ezeraku.
Ezeraku. Doesn't look weird. If you say it, I believe
Okay,
you. You
fine.
got the names right. I'm gonna
there's a bunch of ways that you could try to pronounce that.
Yep. But we're going to go with Donovan from Boston College.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
All right. Packers.
Um,
Ooh, I have to pick for your Vikings. Ooh.
yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
They're my second favorite team. The Packers. They love drafting offensive linemen. They could get Josh Simmons and have him play left tackle or something. They could use another edge rusher, so James Pierce would be an understandable fit. But, do I want to draft another edge rusher? I think it makes.
I think you do. I think you're on quite the edge rusher run, and you should continue this run. Don't change now. Don't change your colors.
I think the pick that I would go with here would be Jahdae Barron, and have Nate Hobbs go on the outside.
Don't do that. Don't do that right in front of your Vikings who want Jahdae Barron. Don't do that.
The Vikings.
They need corners. They need corners so bad.
He's like 5'11". He's got short arms.
It's okay. They need bodies. Don't let my, speaking for your second favorite team, influence your decision for the Packers, who are a division rival and you don't like. Don't let me
The
that.
Packers go with Jackson Dart.
Move over so you can actually be on screen. There we go. Okay.
They could go with receiver Matthew Golden or Igbuka. I was gonna go with Jahdae Barron.
Okay, well take him. Fine.
I think Pierce has a lot of upside, and I think that's a big need. But they really need to address cornerback.
Okay, well, here you've left me.
There are a lot of options for the Vikings.
Yeah, but they addressed a lot of it. Obviously, they addressed the offensive line. They got Jonathan Allen. They addressed the defensive line.
Well, they're kind of old.
They're old on defense. Yeah. So I think they just take the best defender available. That's Malachi Starks. They need defensive backs. Harrison Smith isn't getting any younger.
Another Georgia safety in the back of the first round.
Yeah.
Didn't turn out so well last time.
This time it turns out good.
I hope so.
Texans.
Yeah, Malachi Stark's a great player.
I love that they just have O-line on there for the Texans. I have no idea what the Texans did this offseason.
They signed Laken Tomlinson and traded for Ed Ingram from the Vikings.
Yikes. I don't know if anybody watched this.
And they brought in a bunch of offensive line.
Scoot over. Yeah, we're fixing the camera.
Okay.
There we go.
We brought in a bunch of offensive linemen and a bunch of receivers too. So I don't even know if they want to go with Egbuka or Golden. Golden is a really great player, and he's taken a bit of a.
They're one of the teams that I think got worse this offseason is the Texans.
But they're gonna have to get better.
Yeah.
Pierce is gonna continue to fall. Thing is, like the players, like the interior offensive line is, I think, their biggest need, but there's not a great interior guy left with like Gray Zabel, the only guy like that's not on the board. They could go with defensive linemen like Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon, or they could go with a receiver. Emeka Egbuka, I think, would be a great fit. But I'm going to go with offensive line.
Oh. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
They
don't draft an offensive line in the first round. I think they're crazy.
They get their Laramie Tunsil replacement, and Blake Fisher can play right tackle.
Yeah.
Josh Simmons, he was injured, but he was looking incredible in pass protection before that. So I think he could end up being possibly the best player in this class, but...
Well, you keep talking, and that's my pick.
Well, I didn't really talk about Simmons at all until I have. And you have time to think. You have time to think.
Yeah, I don't want to be thinking about the Rams as long as I want to think about the Rams. Drafting for the Rams.
You know what they need?
I don't care what they need.
They need a tight end.
They need to not win the division next year is what they need. Okay? That's what they need. If we're being honest, that's...
I would enjoy that if they didn't win the division.
But what do they need? They need O-linemen.
Yeah. They need a cornerback. They need a linebacker.
I work with a nice gentleman who is a Rams fan. He's a good friend. And he always talks about them needing secondary corner help. Unfortunately for him, at this spot...
I mean, there's some people... I mean, there's some players that some people like Maxwell Harrison. I heard some more in the past about Revel, but not as much recently. Azariah Thomas is very popular.
I think that's going to be more second round, I guess. They have Puka, they have Devontae Adams. Higbee's still there. Huh?
Colston Loveland.
No.
Why don't you like Colston Loveland?
Just...
What do you know about? Are you still mad at? Are you just mad because he's a Michigan Wolverine?
No. I mean, I like A.J. Martin. I like our tight end.
Very different players.
Boy. You know what? It's tough picking for the Rams. So, what do I think they're going to do? I think they're going to continue either they're going to go offensive lineman or they're going to go defensive pass rusher. So, I'm going to look here.
It's Josh Connerly.
Let's look at offensive tackle.
Josh Connerly's decent.
Connerly, after that, it's like it falls off, right? As far as offensive lineman.
I mean, a lot of people like Donovan Jackson.
I think they're going to go Connerly. Oh, good. It's over. Go to the Ravens.
Ravens. Yeah. Yeah, I think for the Ravens, I'm going to continue to have Matthew Golden fall, even though he deserves a higher draft pick. But.
Ooh, an edge. You mean?
Yeah. I think the pick that I think one of my best fits I've thought about is Malachi Starks to them. Don't you don't have to think about that. I'm just throwing something out there.
Yeah,
if Starks were to fall to the Ravens,
gotcha.
Another great player falling to the Ravens, they just draft him. He can play free safety or strong safety or whatever. He can have two versatile safeties, and they definitely need another safety. But they also need an edge rusher. They have older edge rushers who don't have the top tier production that they may want for their defense. So I'm gonna go with James Pierce. He is on the lighter side, but he's got great explosion, great quickness, and has great speed, finesse, pass rushing ability. And I think he could provide an instant boost to the Ravens' pass rush.
Lions. I think if Pierce falls to the Lions here,
You know who they could use? Just kidding.
you say Loveland again.
I'm just kidding.
Quit pushing.
They don't need a tight end.
Why are you
they
in
don't
love
need
with Colston Loveland?
It's not. It's just that you don't. It's just that you aren't, Dad.
I think that pass rusher is what they need, but it didn't work out for them. The way the pass rushers is just that Kean drafted an edge rusher 6 picks in a row, so there's not a lot of edge left.
No, I drafted Josh Simmons. He's no Andrew Day Barron.
Right. So
They're edge rushers, unless they. I mean, I guess they can.
So what are they gonna take? That Lanes may be a good trade out team. If someone wants to jump up and grab, maybe Shedeur hasn't been drafted at this point. Come up and grab him. They need a guard. Zeitler is gone. Again, I think that could be addressed later. They don't need running backs. A receiver. I mean, Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams.
I think they could have defensive tackle.
This is a hard team to draft for. They have a really good roster.
They could. They could go with Donovan Jackson to play guard. They could go with Nick Gordon, maybe.
I feel like they're gonna go defense.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give them more defensive linemen to really bolster.
Oh wow!
And give them Mr. Walter Nolan.
That would be quite the trio. Or is DJ Breather still there?
Yep.
Yeah, he's already been just steadily improving as a pass rusher. If he gets even more time in the NFL, could be really great.
Yep. All right,
Commanders. Yeah, this is a team that I think could have a lot of needs, but they still succeed.
Ooh, there's a pick here I like for them. Go that direction.
Go with an edge rusher. I don't think they need. I don't think this team needs Colston Loveland because they, I think they still have Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott from last year's draft. I don't think they need defense. I mean, they have Johnny Newton and Deron Payne still, so I think they could address that later. But I think just the best player available that would fit a need for them would be Matthew Golden of Texas. He was really great down the stretch for Texas, and he was surprisingly quite athletic in the combine, and has just a great ability to get open, and I think that would be I think he would be a very great weapon for Jaden Daniels.
I was thinking of Marion Hampton for them to pair with Brian Robinson Jr. because Eckler, yeah. But I think that's a good pick as well. Once you said it, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Terry McLaurin has been doing the God's work in Washington for a long time with safety over on his side all day, every day.
At least he doesn't have to return with Luke McCaffrey.
Yeah. All right, Bills, defense. As you can see, edge, linebacker, corner, defense. And for me, I really think they need to get bigger on the defensive line. Derek Harmon, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they need their issues were stopping the run a little bit. I just think they need to get younger and bigger on the defensive line. So I'm going to take Derek Harmon for them. I think it's a good fit as far as need.
Well, you know what the Chiefs need? A tight end.
They need the heir apparent. Oh, you just picked it. You just picked it. You didn't even talk. You just threw it in my face. They need the Travis Kelce future replacement.
I mean,
he decided he's coming back.
What else do they need? Offensive tackle?
Oh yeah, they got the weight. Yeah.
Donovan Jackson, he's okay, but Colston Loveland is
No.
better.
Jalen Moore is going to be the fix for them. Didn't like that signing at all. Chiefs, sorry. Backup tackle from 49ers. He's going to be. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, the Eagles. So many options.
Eagles. They did lose some guys on defense.
Yeah.
They won the Super Bowl by 18 points. I see that they have receiver here. Now, they have two great receivers. What they don't have is a slot guy. And they haven't. Usually they run, the seam formation. They always have a tight end. Goddard's always in. But they do have a third receiver on the field. They're running single back, single tight end, three receiver sets.
I don't remember who their new OC is.
That's a good question. But I think Abuka is just sitting there, staring them in the face. Mm-hmm. Why not take Abuka and pair him with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? I think his skill set really matches up well with those three. And I think that's going to be the end of our first round mock draft. Ooh, they're analyzing or creating our draft. I don't want to see this pop up.
I don't think they show it yet.
They just tease us and then we have to pay for it. Thanks, PFF.
That's how it works.
That's how people make money. All right. Well, that was fun.
Kevin Patullo. Wait.
I think it was a good draft. I think we did well. I think some surprises, some things that I wasn't predicting. Anyways, that was our mock draft. You hope you enjoyed it. And I think maybe, let's see, when's the draft? Your birthday. Maybe we'll do one more. What? Maybe we'll do a 2.0. So this will be mock draft 1.0.
Just revealed my birthday.
Is that a bad thing?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing.
I'm gonna tell everyone your birthday next mock draft.
And then we are done recording.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks for watching.